And we're live.
Thank you. Welcome to the October 27th, 2025 meeting of the Finance and Facilities Committee of the University of Rhode Island Board of Trustees. The meeting is being held in person with committee members participating remotely. At this time, Interim Board Secretary Emily DiMamondes will conduct a roll call attendance to determine if a quorum is present. Please clearly respond present via WebEx or present in person when your name is called. Emily?
Okay. Vahid Onjazieri. Armin Sabatoni.
Present via WebEx.
Maria Ducharme.
Present via WebEx.
Michael Fascitelli.
Present via WebEx.
Joe Formicola.
Present via WebEx.
Courtney Nicolato.
Present via WebEx.
Chris Bobby.
Present via WebEx.
And Mark Parlange.
Present via WebEx.
Great. And then I believe Chair Cook is on the call as well. And then in the room with us, we have Stephanie Kavanaugh. And then also joining remotely, I see Abby Benson, Barb Wolf, Michael Johns, Mark Antonucci, Alyssa Boss, Tracy Angel, Dan Moose, Angela Miller, Kara Larson, John Pullman, Markeisha Miner, Ryan Carrillo, Ellen Reynolds, and David Palazzetti. I think that's everybody.
We have a full house.
Yep, and we have a quorum.
And we have a quorum. All right, the chair will declare that we do have a quorum and call this meeting to order. It's a reminder to all members for the benefit of our audience and the note taker, please clearly identify yourself whenever you comment. Make a motion or second a motion. Participants using WebEx are required to keep their cameras on as remote members, and all persons present at the meeting location must be clearly audible and visible to each other. At this time, I would like to acknowledge that the University of Rhode Island occupies the traditional stomping ground of the Narragansett Nation and the Niantic people. Are there any additional proposed amendments to the agenda, Emily? I don't think so.
I don't believe so. Nope.
Okay. First order of business is the approval of the, hold on, minutes. Approval of the, want to get the date of that, hold on. Approval of the minutes, where is the date of that?
I mean, it's September 15th.
It's September 15th, okay, 2025. Do I hear that as a motion?
Motion, Mike Fascitelli.
Second, Joe.
Okay, any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next order of business is discussion items. And on your agenda will be A, first discussion item, which is approvals under the Declaration of Authority to the President relating to land and property. I see that there is an enclosure that we all received. Abby, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, thanks. Good morning, everyone. So as I do at each meeting, I'm here to report on actions taken under the President's delegation for real estate actions. There were 3 actions taken that are outlined in your memo. 2 of them are related to a facilities use and license agreement between URI and the URI Research Foundation, which is managing the Ocean Technology Center on the Bay campus on our behalf. The Ocean Technology Center houses a number of companies, some URI startups, and the URI Research Foundation is managing that for us. So we had 2 amendments to our facilities use and license agreement. One was to expand area outside of the OTC for some containers for use by the companies. Also, we have a sub license that the URI Research Foundation uses with companies that want to rent the space. So we brought that to State Properties Committee as a template so they could see it. And then the third item was to extend the agreement with the companies to 30 months. Right now, the OTC is planned to be renovated as part of the Ocean Engineering Center, but our intention is to keep companies in there until we can move them into the Ocean Robotics Laboratory innovation spaces. As I think you know, the ORL will be open in the spring. So those were all actions we brought to State Properties Committee. And then the last item was a lease agreement between the university and the Kingston Fire District for their facility at 35 Bills Road in Kingston. The fire district currently occupies this building and has for quite a long time, but this is just an update to the lease agreement. It's a 10-year lease agreement with a 10-year option to extend, and it replaces all prior agreements. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
No? And that was purely for discussion, no other action, right, Abby?
That's correct.
Okay, hearing nothing for discussion, we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is item 3, executive session. The chair will entertain the following motion. I have to do a little reading for you all. That the committee convene into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A5 for discussion of terms regarding the potential lease of a portion of the W. Alton Jones campus and action to recommend authorization to negotiate final terms. And in addition, pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A5 of the Rhode Island General Laws 42465A7 for discussion regarding ground lease discussions related to development of property on or around campus, mixed-use development, and Rhode Island General Laws 42465A7 for the discussion of a long-range financial planning and strategy and action to recommend approval of terms of an agreement for enterprise resource planning implementation services. Do I hear that as a motion?
So moved, Joe.
Joe? There a
Courtney
second?
Nicolato, second.
Courtney seconds it. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? No? Abstentions? Motion carries to move us into executive session. Okay, the committee will now move us into executive session. It is anticipated that the executive session will take approximately 45 minutes, after which the committee will reconvene in open session. The live stream will be paused during this executive session and resumed once the executive session has ended and the committee reconvenes in open session. For all those participating via WebEx, please confirm by saying yes that no other person is present and are able to hear the discussion at the remote location. Do I hear yeses?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Emily, let's move us in.
Okay, thanks. Hold one moment.
Coach, I'm on the board of directors call for URI. We'll call you back.
They should all be coming back.
Right? Okay, we're all set, Armand. Oh, Armand, I think you're on mute.
Everyone is muted automatically.
Okay, we're back.
He's talking. He doesn't know.
Armin, I think you're still on mute.
Armand, I think you're muted.
You can unmute yourself, Armin. You can't.
We got to do that. All right,
There you go.
first
There you
order of
go.
business is a motion to seal the executive session of minutes. Do I hear that as a motion?
Motion, Mike.
Mike, second?
Second, Joe.
Okay, Joe, you're gonna be our substantial second now. Get ready.
A rubber
All
stamp
right,
it.
all right. All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Abstentions? None. Motion carries. Okay, hold on one second. Find out where I am. 10. Abby, is the next agenda item on the
Financial statements.
museum or on the financial statements?
I believe it's on the financial statements.
All right, let's do that. Consideration of the audited FY 2025 financial statements and recommendations for approval to the URI Board of Trustees. Okay, Abby.
Great, thank you. And as a reminder, we started last year where we review the financial statements in finance and facilities, and then in IRCC, which meets tomorrow, we'll actually have our auditor there to talk about the audit. So you should have a copy of the financial statements in your packet, but essentially our external auditors, CLA, completed the audit and have no audit findings. So we look forward to having a clean audit opinion for this fiscal year. Similar to last year's, if you look in the financial statements, the management's discussion and analysis provides a summary of the financial statements. I want to just include a few highlights, and then I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. The first highlight is that we do have an overall increase in net position of $65.9 million, which is up from our increase last year of $45.6 million. This really is due to capital contributions. So we actually have a decrease in net position if you look just at our operating budget, but because we had significant influx from the state in RICAP and GEO bond projects, we see an increase overall in our net position due to capital. So we're obviously very thankful for the state's contribution to our capital improvement plan, and those become our assets. So it really does increase our overall financial position. The operating expenses for the university increased by 3.8% in FY 2025, which is compared to a 6.1% increase in FY 2024. So we have tried to bring our expenses down a bit, although our expenses did outpace our operating revenues, which dipped 8.8% from the prior year. So we did end up with an operating loss in 2025. I do also want to point out that our gross tuition and fee revenue, which is our largest revenue source, increased by $4.36 million due to our increase in tuition rates that the board approved last year, but it was offset, unfortunately, by a decrease in enrollment. As I believe you know, we did not meet some of our enrollment targets due in large part to the FAFSA rollout and the uncertainty created with our student population. Most of our expense increase is attributed to salaries and benefits, which coupled with other operating expenses account for the total rise in our operating costs. And that those salaries and benefits are a result of both investments made over the last several fiscal years to increase our staff and faculty at the university, and also cost of living and salary adjustments, which range in the order of 2.5 to 5%, depending on the population we're talking about. And then finally, I'll just note that the state's unrestricted appropriation is the largest component of what we call our non-operating revenue on our financial statements. Of course, we use our state appropriation for operating, but that's how it's categorized from an accounting standpoint. In FY25, we did receive $112.74 million from the state, which appears to be flat from what was in FY 2024, but we did get a one-time adjustment in FY 24 of about $5.8 million. So in effect, if you take that one-time adjustment that the state gave us, our state appropriation did increase by $5.87 million from FY24 to FY25. So there's a lot of information in the financial statements. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, but those are some of the high points.
No questions? It was a good audit. Good job. I'd have to entertain a motion to recommend approval to the university's audited financial statements for the 2025 as presented in the enclosure. Do I hear that as a motion?
So moved, Maria.
Second, Courtney. Very good. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed,
Yes.
no. Abstentions, none. Motion passes. The next item for discussion and a vote is, Abby, you're going to talk about the Tapaqua Indian Memorial Museum.
Yes, thank you. So I'm here today to present an updated term sheet for the Tomaquag Museum property on the university's land. Just as a reminder, the board did approve a term sheet for this real estate agreement back at their April 26, 2024 meeting. And we've been working with them to negotiate the ground lease since then. The transaction that was approved back in April was for the new site. So if you recall, we initially had an agreement where they would be on a location on Ministerial Road, but we worked with them and agreed to move them to Kingstown Road at the home of where the old International Scholar Athlete building is. So over the last year plus, they've been working on redesigning the museum to fit the new space. And so we're bringing this updated term sheet to you, which is largely the same as the last one, but there are about 3 changes that I want to highlight from this term sheet versus the last term sheet. The first is that when this was initially agreed to, the lease term was perpetual, which we realized, we have a new Office of General Counsel, a new leadership. We realized we actually can't do perpetual leases. So the lease is now updated from a 99-year term with 4 99-year renewals. Also, the last term sheet you approved had a 6-month termination for convenience. Given the fact that they will be essentially building a brand new building on the site, they asked for a longer notice for termination for convenience. So we've agreed to 30 months. So in that case, if we decided that we wanted to terminate the lease for convenience, we would have to give them 30 months notice and also pay fair market value for the building that they're building on the site. So that notice is a key change. And then finally, the museum has asked us if they can have an artist in residence program. And so the term sheet and the ground lease will contemplate in more detail what that looks like, including that the museum will enter into a sublease arrangement that we approve for any artists in residence that are actually in residence on the site. So we're actually very close to finalizing the ground lease itself. But I wanted to bring this updated term sheet for all of you and highlight the differences from the one you approved last time. We're working with them very closely. We actually met with them and the president last week on their fundraising plans and phasing of the project so that we know what phases will happen when. And finalizing this ground lease will really help them to get into another next phase of fundraising. So we're anxious to get it finalized before the end of the year. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, hearing no questions, the chair will entertain a motion to recommend approval of a ground lease with the Tapaqua Indian Memorial Museum for property located at 3045 Kingston Road, Kingston, on substantially the terms outlined in the enclosed term sheet, and then any authorized signatory in parentheses as defined in the policy on approval and execution of contracts and other binding documents, closed, parentheses, be authorized to negotiate and execute a ground lease and any other documents relating to such transaction on substantially the terms outlined in the enclosed term sheet, with any such changes and additional terms as are defined and deemed necessary or appropriate by the authorized signatory. Do I hear that as a motion?
I'll move that, Joe.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Mike.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Abstentions, none. The motion carries. I think we have the last item before adjournment. Abby, in consideration of contracts in excess of $5 million.
Yeah, thank you. So
The HVAC.
With this
Next, Jen.
item, we're seeking Board of Trustees approval under the policy on approval and execution of contracts for a change order to our facilities operations contract with Next Gen Mechanical, who services our HVAC and chiller system. So the board actually did approve this contract back in 2023 for $6 million over 3 years. The contract assumed an annual spend of $1.5 million, but we did not adequately take into account unanticipated emergency repairs and required equipment replacement. And we're currently at less than $500,000 remaining in the contract. And we're hoping to increase the contract to $2.9 million to make sure that we can cover all of our anticipated critical repairs and scheduled maintenance that's upcoming. Just for the board's awareness, we are working on an RFP when at the end of this contract, and we're looking to break the contract down into different aspects of the contract for equipment repair and services so that we have multiple vendors so we don't run into this situation again. But to be able to get what we need to get done by the end of the year, we're asking for this additional increase. Happy to
Okay.
answer any questions.
Yeah. Okay, hearing no questions or further discussion, a motion to recommend the approval of the change order for the continued service and repair of the HVAC systems and chillers from Next Gen Mechanical Inc. as presented on substantially the terms presented in this memo and any attachments, and that any authorized signatory, as defined in the policy on approval and execution of contracts and other binding documents, be authorized to negotiate the terms of any documents relating to such transaction on substantially the terms outlined in the enclosure, with any such changes and additional terms as are deemed necessary or appropriate by the authorized signatory. Do I hear that as a motion?
So moved, Maria.
Okay, a second?
Second, Courtney.
All right, thank you both. All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Abstentions, none. The motion passes. Appreciate it. There's a lot here on this agenda. Good job, Abby and your team. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
No. Abstentions? Motion passes. We rally. 10:30, we finished right on time. Thank you all.
Thanks.